and then I'll
So,
say, yo, what up? How's it going, man?
good. How's it going?
It's going really, really well. Thank you for the support over on Patreon, so we can have this this conversation today.
Yeah, of course.
I'm excited to see what we can make of this really awesome Todoroki 2 list. For everybody at home, if you don't know, we're doing a deck doctor today. Basically, the way that it's gonna work is we are gonna sit down and we're gonna chit chat about Triple D's really awesome Todoroki list under the fire symbol. He's gonna give me his elevator pitch, and we're gonna get into it. So without further ado, Triple D, hit me with this Todoroki 2 list. What do you got going on? What are you thinking?
So one, I really wanted to play him. He's one of my favorite characters, and it was hard to get Todoroki 1 to work. Feel like he was still missing some stuff.
Right.
And I actually pulled this XR at my pre-release for sealed. So I was like, it's meant to be. And I actually played it in sealed, and I technically didn't lose to anybody. So
yo, that's tight. You pulled an XR Todoroki too?
yeah, like out of my
Amazing.
pre-release sealed packs. I was like, it's meant to be the character I want to build.
I love that.
Um,
I love that.
and I'm torn on which symbol to build them on because they all have like really good advantages to them, right?
Right.
Like between water, order, and fire. But I was looking at fire and I was like, I mean, I feel like it can be a decently aggressive build and it has some cool things. So this was kind of just my first take at building this guy. Haven't played around too much with order or water yet.
Mm-hmm.
Since I do play Sato, I know kind of how order works, and then everybody's playing Asui water pretty much right now. So
Right. Yeah, I mean the fire symbol. It's actually really cool of how his three symbols are working, because like the fire symbol I feel like is going to be really aggressive and really aggro, really early game. The order symbol is going to find that mid range, and then the water symbol like wants to kind of splash around in a closer deadlock late game type of play. And so we're playing the fire symbol, so I think we're gonna have to try and go in a bit. So hit me with the attack lineup. Why are we playing the attacks that we are playing?
So starting with like Dark Shadow Ruin. I was looking at it. Actually, I want to say it might have been Damn Deal that put me on it at locals or something. But they kind of brought it up, and I was looking at it, and I was like, man, that's kind of insane, right? Because with Todoroki's effect, you make it a 6 for 7, and then his own effect's gonna make it now a a 6 high for 10 damage, because you're gonna give it that +2/+2.
Right.
And essentially a stun 3, because you're gonna give it stun 2. You can give it stun 2 if you want plus stun 1.
Right.
And if you need to defend with it, it's breaker 1. So I just felt like I was like, man, this card actually seems like it could be really good in the deck. Just off of that, right? Like it's your first attack, you already get stun 3 out of it right off the gate, like if you want to. So
yeah, I love this card. I don't know if I love it at a 4 of, but I think this card's really, really awesome. I think that like just like out the gate, I would probably swap it to the 2 of, and then either put Counter Strike up to the 3 and then Ice Storm up to a 3, or pick one of these to be the 4. Just because the on-block ability of these cards is way, way better than the Dark Shadow Ruin, because we're missing half of the card, right? Actions don't count towards progressive. These don't stick around. If we were playing constant or go for the win in the main board, I think I'd be into it. But we're not. And so I think this being a 2 of and being like kind of a bit of a surprise, a really good opener for our deck, I think is really cool.
Yeah, and I had go for the win in the main board, but that's why I kind of moved them to the side to kind of decide like what actions would I want to play, what's the ratio. So that's kind of like where I was trying to figure out where to go from there. But yeah, I can see it as a 2-0 since you only get half of its abilities.
Yeah, I do think that these two actions are better than go for the win in this particular deck. I think that he's gonna play when I said he plays very mid range, like the character wants to be as mid range as possible, right? Or else we're only getting 2 enhances. We want that, add that card back to our hand. I think our goal is to like swing big on turn 3, or swing okay on turn 3, try and poke and find a momentum, which is great for half hot, right? We get that small little poke, we pressure them, and then we swing big, real big on turn 4. And so, like, I don't think go for the win is necessary, because we're going to be building for 3 turns, essentially. Yeah.
Yeah. That makes sense.
I
really like Like the ice wall in there is, to me, it's kind of like, oh, this is a stun 6,
Yeah, yes, he
like,
was correct. This was
and I
crazy.
could recycle it if it does damage and add it back to my hand. Like,
Right.
I was
Yeah.
just like, and then Frigid Heat Wave, you're playing a range deck, right? Like, I feel like it's just kind of, you got to play it, like,
Yeah.
it's your range. You could potentially on the turn you're going wide, draw that 2, pump it as well. Like, I feel like if you left it out, there's something wrong.
Yeah, that makes total sense to me. Absolutely makes total sense to me. I'm going through and I am looking for some other options that we have. How do you feel about that's interesting. How do we feel about the Cinder Conviction?
Which
It
the oh
is
yeah,
the 5
the
diff.
one that has a 2 of. I I'm back and forth on it. I do like it because it's essentially a stun 5, right? In a reality, like if you have the momentum, you give it stun 2, use the enhance, so now it's a powerful 4 stun 2 stun 3. So like if that's your first attack and you have the momentum, you just probably tapped out your opponent in reality because 5 foundations, a lot of decks don't necessarily have that up on defense, right?
Right.
Um, so that's kind of why I was like a 2 of, maybe bump it up. I don't know, but it was something I was considering just because I know it was sealed, but it was one of the cards I had in the deck I sealed and it put in work. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, maybe look at it as a possibility, and it's still a 1 high block, which I thought was still good too.
I think this card in Todoroki 2 might be pound for pound his best card if you can get everything off the bone, right? If you've got that bonus momentum, making this stun 5 and giving it the +2/+2 not blocked. I mean it swings as hard as Dark Shadow Ruin with way more stun, like way more stun.
Yeah,
And it also has powerful 3, so like you can like in the game with it. It's got as much powerful as Ice Storm, sometimes even more, right? Because it can have powerful 4. Yeah, this card feels actually great. Card has charge? Question mark. How do we abuse that? In Denki? Nuts. Okay, sorry.
yeah.
Confident Counter Strike and Ice Storm. Love these cards. I think these cards are fantastic. Hit me with the. We obviously know how good Ice Storm is. Hit me with the Confident Counter Strike and why you decided to include this card.
One, it's a 1 mid block, so I thought that was really good. So I also wanted to look at what attacks could still be useful on defense, right? If I need to set up a turn to kill or something, can I still defend? And when I block with it, it forces my opponent to either discard a card or lose that 2 health, which can make a difference because it's one last attack they may have or defensive option, or they just take the 2 damage, which could be, the extra 2 that I may need to push at the end or something, right? So
Right.
that's kind of my thought process there. And if my last attack wasn't blocked, this one gets 3 damage. So now, if I start off with Conviction, I pump that, or Shadow Rune, I pump that. Now this thing is automatically swinging as a 5 for 7. Plus, if I have any other way to give it speed, but at minimum, it's still a 5 speed for 7, depending on what happened, So
Yeah, I even think like the better option is like you lead off with half-hot ignition, right? And you're like minus the speed plus the damage. You give this one the stun so that you stun him out a little bit, and you save the +2 pump because the +2 pump is just your attack, right? It doesn't say you're ranged. And so from there, you then sling this as a 7 for 9 because they obviously have to block the half-hot ignition. It's for 6 damage.
Yeah.
And so like we're threatening so much, and then when they don't block your 7 for 9. Or they partial block it or whatever, you then get to pick it up on defense with Todoroki. And that feels great.
Yeah, he's gonna deal that 1 damage.
Yeah. My personal opinion is I want to cut the Ruin down to the 2 of, and I want to just toss 3 of both of these. Just because I want to make you go buy more packs, so you have to go open up more ultra rares,
I'm getting the whole case, so.
Yeah. The last 2 cards that I want to talk attack wise. I don't love Frigid Heat Wave at a 4 of. I think this card's a little suspect personally. I think it being a 3 of is probably where I would put it, and I actually want to put in 1 Blue Flame Spiral. It's that same low block, but it has something slightly different going on. You're not allowed to you're not allowed to give it stun, but you are allowed to pump the speed and damage on it. So making this a 5 mid for 7, that's possibly a 9 mid for 7. that selectively destroys their foundations. If they let it hit, you just pick it up and do it again. It's not arranged, and that's okay because literally the rest of our lineup is all ranged.
Yeah.
And I think this card gives you just enough control under the fire symbol to make it happen. What this card is missing is the speed stat, which our character gets to give, and we'll never be forced to like hold 2 and be like, ah, shucks, I've got bad ones in my hand, because we're just gonna play it at the 1 of.
Okay. Ready, 2 rival foundations attack. It's +4. Okay, so you can pump the speed if you need to with its effect as well.
Correct.
And then 3 cards from your discard the top 3 cards of your deck. If the attack deals damage, destroy 1 rival asset or foundation. Yeah, that's good too, because now you can destroy something, and it sets you up for a heat wave or something if you need to mill a couple more ranged attacks.
Be a real shame if they blocked it, huh?
Yeah.
So there's just like a lot of things moving around with this card, and like forcing them to deal with it. Not to mention you readying your 2 rival foundations. You can just give it the stun 2 and put it back, right? So like Blue Flame Spiral into a giant ice wall. The ready didn't actually do anything.
Yeah.
It didn't really do anything.
It made them think they had something.
Right. Moving on, Evil Gaze, Capture Evildoers. I think these are great. This card might be just a little greedy, but it really depends on how the meta evolves, and like how diehard opponents are going to be under these 3 symbols to not take momentum. Currently in set 1 meta, the answer is under all fire good, you don't take momentum. You don't take momentum. Yeah. CrossFit, we know that Blue Flame Spiral can't stun. It does get the +2/+2 though. And so like you Blue Flame Spiral and you ready their 2 foundations, and then they're forced to block, and then you giant ice wall and then give it stun 4, and you didn't care that you readied the 2, right? Our character does this cost does not exist because all the rest of our attacks can have, except for Confident Counterstrike, can have the stun 2. That's where we're at. Yeah. Which is why this isn't a 4 of in our deck. I think it's neat tech. I think it's a really cool option, and I think it's a better option than having a 4th Frigid Heatwave. That's how I feel, at least.
Yeah, it gives that little versatility.
Correct. I love these options. I think these are really good. If Capture Evildoers ends up not being what you like, what you want to go for, I think you put 2 Go for the Wins back in, and I think you'll feel great. I think you'll feel really good.
Yeah. And I looked at it too, as both of those are good defensive. Like Capture Evildoers is still a 1 block that has Breaker 1. So in reality, or if I need to force myself to get a momentum early to a turn before to set up for like the Cinder Conviction or something, I have that ability as well. Right.
So let's look at foundations. Look at foundations and see what we got going on. While you chit chat about your foundations, I'm gonna make some sideboard notes. So
yeah, kind of went through fire and was like, what's going to be good, kind of looking at last set 1 and some of set 2. So, like laying skill, I was like, this is good. If I need to pitch 2 foundations to try to get 2 attacks, it's good. For the new ones, the defrosting's good. I like ice gliding. I think both offensively and defense, it can have some good use. Trying to remember what all of them do off the top of my head. Arrogant Disposition, I mostly included it because it's a 6 check.
Love that.
So I know there's another 6 check in the deck as well that I included. I can't remember which one. I think it's
League. Yeah.
So it's more of just trying to find stuff that helps. I was looking at League. I don't know if it's something I actually want, but I was like, oh, this could be cool because you discard the top 2, you get that +1, or you can +1 a block, but it basically helps you get a couple cards in there if you need to set up something to get that Frigid Heat Wave effect off or something. And it's a 6 check, but don't know if it's something you really useful. I was just looking at fire symboled foundations.
Yeah, I made a small list that we can talk about. Things that I think you missed a little bit. I think the biggest hang up on this list is actually when we look at the quantities. Look at all these 4s. This is just narrowing what your deck is wanting to do, which is good for the fire deck for sure. But I don't think that we need all of these 4 ofs. Like ice gliding, drowning, a league interview, Irrefutable, Frozen, Latent. In Danger's a 4 of? In Danger? I think there's just better options.
I just did 4 of In Danger because it was a 0 cost, so something I could spam with.
For sure. As a 6-hand size character, I think our zeros are a little less important. And I would rather honestly play something along the lines of like a Stronger in Darkness, so that after I'm done using the once per turn, I can just commit my character and feel fine about it, as long as I have enough cards in my hand to do things. I think you should leverage more 1 difficulties over the 0 diffs. That's how I feel personally.
Okay.
Yeah. So in Danger, I'm gonna just go ahead and just cut down to a 2 of, and we'll talk about being able to cut the extras. So defense wise, we've got things like Clever Distraction, we've got things like Heroic Lineage, we've got things like In the Typhoon that all feel very, very good for defending. In the Typhoon, we can use our once per turn lift of momentum to fulfill that second card in hand's cost of remove, discard 2 cards, block it, and it feels very, very good. Especially if we're drawing bonus cards with Frigid Heatwave, we're drawing bonus cards with Self-Assured. This card could be the thing that like card pool stuffing is going to be absolutely insane next set. It's going to be all over the place, especially early, because that's things that people have already tracked as or hung on to as like, oh, this is just obviously strong. It's working at the end of set 1, and there's slightly more stuff in set 2. So In the Typhoon is very, very good, which is why I think Forcing Surrender needs to be in our deck at a 2 of at least as well. This card says that if I get Faith's Shielded, I can just kick that card out of my card pool and not care about it, and just continue to play the game.
Okay.
Yeah. And we're probably going to side the other 2. I think this is going to be pound for pound the most important foundation in set 2 for these 3 symbols.
Okay.
Yeah. Aiming for number 1, I think is really important because we are just a 6-hand size character. And so drawing these bonus cards or forcing my opponent to stay a 6-hand size character with me is going to help us with tempo.
Yeah, that was one I was looking at too, and I wasn't sure. I was trying to think, well, I mean, there's a lot of things out there that draw, like Calling for Backup, Passing the Torch.
Right.
So
right.
I was like,
which you're not even playing Calling for Backup. That just wasn't in your list.
I guess I'll skip that one.
yeah. The set two problems. Oh, I skipped one of these cool set 1 cards. Yeah. So my opinion is, I think we're just gonna start jamming a lot of these in at 3 ofs, and then we're just gonna take some of these 4 ofs and bring them also down to 3s or 2s, and then we're gonna be able to make some choices here. Right. So right now we have a 72 card deck. And then we're going to now make it into an 80 card deck.
Awesome.
53 foundations. 53. So let's start cutting. Revel at a 4 of. Very, very cool. I don't know if we need it though. Really cool for Frigid Heatwave. Really cool for Frigid Heatwaves. I don't think it needs to be a 4 of. I think we can get away with 3 or 2.
Okay.
Pick one.
Yeah, I can skip it. CV. We'll start with 2.
Start with 2. Ice Gliding, it's another 2 of. We don't want to commit foundations for defense as much as we can, because this card kind of says stun 1 in order to use this ability, if you want to look at it that way. Tell me about Drowning in Resentment. You like this card?
So in a way, I was like, yeah, it's good because the flip effect is playable while committed,
right?
For the enhance, so I can use it to pay the cost of playing an attack and then flip it, so it still gets like double value for that speed boost. If I play one of my attacks I already have stun, or I give one of the range attacks stun, as well as
I think this is a 2 of at most, and that's if you're feeling really, really generous. Like if the meta changes to where a lot of cards are leaving the top card of the discard pile due to effects, things like Sticky Balls, things like Tongue Whip, I think we could play more like the sideboard. I think at most this is a 2 of. I think the +2 or -2 is not going to be worth it with how much stats we're already pumping on stuff. This card feels good in draft. His card is not very good in constructed, and that's how I feel.
Okay. Makes sense.
4 Defrosting. Is this because you just want to see the card, or because you want to play 4 of it? Like you want to have 4 of it on board?
I mean, both. Like, having multiple copies with that once per turn, you can like bounce their effect off of each other, right? So you can
Right.
do a 2 speed, -1 damage, one, and then the 1 speed, 2 damage. So it kind of like balances out. You get to see it. It's still a decent block, mid block, like it's a 2, which is decent. Um, but
Yeah.
I was just looking for foundations as well, so I just put everything in there first, and I was like, I'll look at making cuts.
Fair,
Um,
fair. It's why, hey, it's why we're here, right? Yeah, I agree with Yelson in the chat. Mill 2 for 1/1 is super meh, and that's where I'm at, right? I think this card could easily be a 2, but if we like the card so much, I think it should be a 3. I've said it before, I said it again. I think this card's not good, man. I think this card is not very good.
yeah, we could start at a 2, and then
For a league interview?
for league interview,
Yeah, I want like 1 or 0. I think 0 is my preferred number because I think there's like cooler cards to play.
I can see cutting it because I just put it in there at the time because it was a sick check,
Yeah.
and that was a big reason.
I think people are gonna get tricked by the 6 and want to play it. Don't get me wrong. All 6s is great. All 6s is great. Making a stand is the first card that I agree needs to be a 4 on our deck. I think this card is yoked for us because it lets us be lets us use our ability without letting our opponent have the +1 as well, right? Both players add 1 momentum to their hand. We're just like, absolutely not. No, you don't get to do that.
I did that to my buddy. He sealed Endeavor, and he had 1 momentum thinking he was gonna go for it. I was like, oh wait, this foundation also does that. So I gave it +1, and I was like, flip, use a Shoto, and I was like, that's pretty good.
Yeah. This card's amazing. It's probably gonna be the only 4 of in our deck, right? This is the gotta have it kind of card, right?
Yeah.
Need it. I need it. Irrefutable is going to be a 3 of. We side the 4th. Frozen is going to be a 3 of. Maybe you can drop down to a 2 of. Layton's going to be a 3 of. This is exclusively just to get our numbers down. Heroic's going to come down to a 2 of. Forcing Surrender is going to go up to a 3 of because I think it's really important. I just want to cut in danger, buddy. I think it just needs to leave. I think we have enough low difficulty foundations. It's the difference of like safety building 4 versus safety building 3 on turn 1. But the fact that like we are stunning out our opponent means that we're also putting them down these foundations on prime 2, right? Like they also don't have them. Not to mention any other stun that we have, like Giant Ice Wall on prime 2. Like they don't have foundations either, right? And it's a 5 low for 7. They're not blocking. And so I don't think us building out crazy early is actually that important and that impactful. And now, look, we're down to 64 foundations. Just taking all those 4s and dropping them all down to 3s, we now actually have like a respectable deck size we get to play around with. We get to lower our low blocks just a little bit. So let's take that Forcing Surrender. We'll drop it back down to a 2 of. And then block zones. Our low blocks are a little high. We could cut the Arrogance. We could. It is nice. It's a nice feeling to be like, yo, I need to check a 6 to live here and like have a chance to do that. But I don't know. It's either that or like Irrefutable forces down to a 2 of, but I really like Irrefutable. But I just might be a sim for that card.
I would rather keep the card that has more use. Like the Arrogant, it's good against decks that play punches. Outside of that,
right,
I'm keeping it for a block if it's in my hand at that point, really.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
So I could see cutting that down.
All right, so let's cut the Arrogant, and if we feel like we're missing it, then we can certainly bring it back. 61 cards with 22 attacks. This is your number, buddy. This is it. 16, 16, 29. Ooh, talk about the order symbol. It's all balanced. Perfectly balanced the way all good decks are. Yeah.
It looks good.
Yeah, and so now we've widened our net. We're playing a bit wider of a deck. We get to like do honestly, we get to press more buttons and not the same button over and over and over again. This deck looks sweet.
Got the actions for defense and offense, whatever.
Yeah. Decks
kind of can feed off of each other. The one spicy blue flame spiral.
Yeah, I think this card's rad. This card's super cool.
I was originally gonna play the UR2 check, the new one, but then I was like, checking a 2 would just feel so bad.
Right.
to make me and my opponent both go down to 5 foundations. I was like, I don't know if it's worth it.
I'm not positive it's worth it inside of the
Fire
fire
symbol.
deck, but I think under order and especially water, it definitely is. I
Yeah,
think water gets to play that card exceptionally well.
when I was looking at the water build, I was like, it would be good in there because that whole build is defensive anyway than playing the long game, so
Right.
it could
100%.
work. But I think this
100%.
looks good. Definitely give it a try.
I love that, and make sure that you post your findings in the Discord. You know, like I would love to see how you grow and be like, yo, I thought this card was really bad, but like this other card you had in the card pool in the sideboard was like really impactful. I would love to see how this deck grows. You know.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, cause see what do we have? What'd you put in the sideboard? Calling for
A lot of stuff. In the Typhoon, I put like a Crow and Frog, right? Self propulsion. You put in like you put some interesting stuff in here, like Concentrate, Fourth Concentrate. That's a cool card.
It wasn't. I put it in there before. It wasn't necessarily the number. I was just like, oh, it's fire. It's playable. It's something that could be done. Like,
Yeah.
if I need a momentum, or if I know I'm going against a deck like Birdman who plays as Summon Dark Shadows.
Right.
So,
Right. My suggestion to you when you're deck building on Ultra is instead of putting things in at 4-ofs, put them in at 1-ofs.
Okay.
Yeah. It makes cutting a little bit easier because you then start to prioritize things as like, oh, what's like crazy important, as opposed to, man, this is a really rad 4 of Revel in my masterpiece and I want to see 4 of it. You see this number here and you just don't want to get rid of it. It's way harder. It's way easier to add things than it is to take away. That's just like a psychology thing, right? Buffs are better than are nicer to our brain than nerfs are, and taking cards away from a deck feels like a nerf.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Any last thoughts before we send over the deck and ship you on your way?
Nah, for the most part, it looks good. Just gotta test it. Go ahead and play it on TTS till I finish getting the rest of my cards, and maybe Friday I can play it in the little arc thing and test it out since they're allowed set 2. We'll see.
Yeah, you could do that, or you could do the unfun Fridays. You know,
is that on TTS or
it is the arc thing? There's a TTS tournament on Friday.
No, I'm just asking. Is the unfun one?
The unfun one is webcam. If you can figure out how to get these, how to get all these cards.
Yeah. Either way, I was just curious. I haven't done that one yet. I haven't heard about the unfun stuff one.
It literally announced this week, right? I think I'm like the second stream to announce it. Yeah. $10. You can actually in the chat right now. Whenever we get done, just ! Unfun Fridays, and get all the details for it.
Okay.
Yeah. I know that I'm gonna be there every Friday, so if you want a chance to mollywop me with this red Todoroki deck, I'm here for it.
Well, I need to play you and beat you with like realistically, not you deciding not to flip your 2 tapes. So like last Friday. So
True. All right, man. You have a good one, okay?
Yeah, you too.
All right. We'll catch you.